What's going on, guys? It's James with the Project Esports podcast, presented by the Game House. This is now day 6 of the free agency for League of Legends. You guys remember yesterday where I said it was going to be like a quiet Sunday and it would be like a chill weekend? Yeah, no. Pretty much the opposite of that. This might have actually been, for moves, this may have been like one of the biggest days. So, that being said, we're gonna get right into it. Starting off, probably the biggest shocker to like everyone was Crown. Crown was slated to apparently go to retirement. He was like, I guess he was there was some headspace issues. And he wasn't feeling like top tier, all that good stuff. So what does Crown do? Instead of going to resign, he signs with Optic Gaming. He takes over Power of Evil's spot. And by the looks of it, I'm going to assume now, seeing as I believe everybody's contract has expired with Optic, don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure, they're going to probably build the roster around Crown. I don't know. Like, it's weird. Like, Optic lost Optic in that whole organization lost a ton of money. They cut off a bunch of people, and it sounds like, hey, we got all the surplus money. Let's get Crown. So they did. And yeah, now Crown's coming to NA, which is pretty crazy and unexpected. I don't think anybody really like. If you check the internet, period, everybody's losing their minds because it's like, why? Like, one, why, and two, how, three, just generally what. Like, so everybody is trying to wrap their head around this move. But I mean, I'm excited. I get to see Crown face off against some of my favorite mid laners, including Power of Evil, Jensen, Hui, and like I don't have to worry about it on a world stage. It's sick. It's awesome. So I think this is gonna, for the NALCS, this means a lot too, because I mean, like, seeing Crown in NA is gonna be awesome. So yeah, but so this is like, I want you to imagine like this video is like a roller coaster, and basically like we're starting the first climb, and it's like, holy shit, okay, cool. So then move on to Mata. So Mata, as I had mentioned previously, was slated to go to like 15 different places. Guess where he ends up? SKT. So now this roller coaster's like doing this one some more. So yeah, Matt is now on SKT. He's going to be alongside Teddy, with like Faker and Khan and Clid, and it's just gonna, oh my god, it's gonna be ridiculous. But to add to that, with the acquiring Mata, they also acquired Fly. Fly was the head coach for Jin Air Green Wings. Fly's been around for a hot minute, basically with the Green Wings. This becomes because of SKT losing a decent chunk of their coaching staff. Don't worry, Kakoma's still there. Wouldn't do that to everybody without warning them. But Bengi and Pumandu are both released. I think Bengi is technically retiring because he's prepping for military service, and Pumandu was released to go to another organization. Not sure where he's going to go. He's pretty seasoned. He's got a pretty good reputation, so I'm assuming he's going to go somewhere reputable. But Bengi's prepping for his mandatory military service, so that's what he's going to be doing for the next little while. So, if you thought that was all that was happening in Korea, it's not, because then we move on to Pawn. Pawn, of course, was a part of KT, the KT Super Team. Pawn is now slated to go to Kingzone Dragon X. So an organization that we thought was going to kind of implode on itself, and we didn't know what was going to happen with it. Well, they just picked up Pawn, and they also picked up Deft. So there's your mid and ADC, two really solid players. So that's ridiculous on its own. So I mean, Def and Matt are broken up, but they didn't really like screw them over as far as giving Def like a miserable bot laner to pair with. No, they gave them Tucson. So Kingzone they acquired Pawn, Deft, and Tucson all in one night, or at least they announced it all in one night. So this is a huge pickup. This is crazy. Now it leaves the question of like what's happening with KT Roster, because there's like their team is gone. The team is no more. So maybe we won't see a super team or anything to that like out of KT. They might be in a rebuilding stage, which is fine. I mean, organizations go through that. That's nothing new. That doesn't change the fact that Kingzone Dragon X is going to look just as scary as they did if not scarier. I don't know. I believe they have Rascal, and I can't remember who their jungler is, but Rascal is still part of the roster. And their jungler's name escapes me, but yeah, pretty scary team. So that kind of rounds it out for Korea. So the old train, I think the roller coaster just took like a nosedive. So yeah, but we're kind of just getting started. So then we move on to Broken Blade. Broken Blade was rumored to go to TSM a little while ago, a couple days ago. I think I mentioned it. Broken Blade is now confirmed on TSM's roster. In his confirmation speech, he confirmed somebody else was still going to be on that roster. That was Ven. So Ven's still there along with Broken Blade. And now with Smoothie, Bjergsen, they haven't confirmed the jungler yet. It still might be Gringe, whatever, however you say his name. We all know who I'm talking about. So that's the roster right now. They do also have an import slot now because Mithy's no longer there. Their only import slot is now being used on this gentleman right here. So it'll be interesting to see who they acquire. They might just stick with their current jungler. They might just be negotiating that right now. I'm not too sure. Mike Young, of course, is no longer with the organization, so he's not an option to swap in either. So that's still up in the air. And then. And it just keeps getting weirder because now Haunter, who Broken Blade is replacing, is rumored to go to Golden Guardians. Golden Guardians is starting to look like more and more of a scarier team now that they have rumored Haunter. You also have rumored Froggen, and and somebody else as well, Olay. So this is Golden Guardians is like. They're restacking the roster. They might even keep Deathly with Olay, which wouldn't surprise me because Deathly is by no means a bad ADC. Contracts, of course, is still over there. So I mean, there's your kind of your pseudo roster, like depending on how you look at it. You have Haunter, Contracts, Froggen, Deathly, and Olay. So Golden Guardians is looking like a pretty decent team right now. I don't think they're going to be a bottom tier team. This is, I think, to me, is a very good example of a organization that was like, you know what, we're just going to grab a bunch of people and we're going to stick them on the same team and see if it if it meshes together, right? This might be the case. I don't know. Maybe we get something crazy out of this. Who knows when you start mixing up the amount of synergy, the players that have been playing in the same place. That kind of rounds it out for NA though. Moving on to Europe. I've been talking about this for ages. And I'm really pissed off that this is the result. It has been confirmed that Caps is no longer with Fnatic, and an alleged leak from their owner that he is going to G2. The owner of Fnatic tweeted out that he would look good in their colors and it would be fun competing against them. There's screenshots of it on Reddit. Somebody was good enough to snag it before it went down. It looks like that whole crazy role swap to mid, or from ADC to mid, or mid to ADC for perks, and then Caps moving in. That being said, we did. If anybody remembers a couple years ago, and this was when Elements was a thing. Reckless, seeking better, greener pastures, kind of thing, went to another European team where we thought it would be better. And it didn't work out. Elements did subpar because they grabbed a super. They basically tried to do their super team with no synergy, and then we saw what happened. So with that being said, Reckless very quickly came back to the organization. Steelback was in his place for a short period of time. So now Caps is kind of branching out, doing the same thing. Do I agree with this? No, I think this is a horrible idea. Caps, I think, is just young, and I think he's like, okay, they're giving me more money, I can do more here. My question is, what is he going to do more? Is he going to be a world finalist again with the G2 roster? G2's not pulling anybody super crazy, and they're bringing in like Mickey X. To me, that's nothing. That doesn't spell like a superstar roster. Where Fnatic has also confirmed that they're keeping Bwipo. That's a player who's still being developed and in his rookie year made it to the world's finalists. So. I don't agree. I don't think this is a good move. I'm interested to see how their season pans out and how it works out because right now this isn't a good idea. This isn't smart. But this is just from me seeing from experience over watching League of Legends for the past 5 years. maybe G2 becomes a super roster. Who knows? But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what kind of happens with him because a sick part of me wants to see him fall flat on his face because I want to be like, why did you leave Fnatic? This is what happens. But maybe I'm being a tad biased. I will be straight up. But moving on from Cavs before I get too much on a tangent, we also have rumor that Otawamne, Ignar, and Abidaje, I'm going to say is his name, are all rumored to go to Schalke. Schalke, of course, picked up Dylan Falco, as their coach. And these three gentlemen are slated to go. Ignar coming back to the promised land of Europe, and Abidaje coming out of Turkey, I believe is where Royal Bandits is from, and moving into Schalke. It's cool to see. This is two players from the same organization that was like. Don't get me wrong. Royal Bandits are as if you pay attention to the lesser leagues, they're decent. They're a really good team. But for two players to be picked up from that roster into franchise teams in two different regions, that's awesome. That's sick. Now thinking back to it, now that I just remember that I went on my tangent, Broken Blade's going to occupy a import slot along with Sven. So that I think that limits them to native junglers or American junglers pretty much. But that being said, back to Abidaje, Odo, and Ignar. This is all still in the rumor mill. This isn't confirmed or anything like that. So we may or may not see this. We might see an iteration of this. Who knows? For guys like Abidaje, I think this is going to go. I think he's probably going to sign on if he is given the option. Ignar, I'm not too sure. He was a part of the BBQ Olivers who didn't do amazing. They did okay. They were kind of a meme. And Odo, I'm not surprised Odo's going here. He didn't have the best season this past year with Splice, but we know he's fully capable of having a great season. So he's by no means a slouch. The rest of the roster rounding out is confirmed to be Memento, who's a great jungler. I think he's definitely one of the better junglers out of Europe. He was previously with Rokat, of course, not making the European LCS, ditching their League of Legends team entirely. So it let Memento be a free agent and then be picked up pretty much quickly by Schalke, who I think is where he started. And then the other gentleman to apparently re-sign with Schalke is Upset, or as I like to call him, Budget Sven, just because they kind of look the same. But yeah, so that's looking like a pretty decent team. To me, that's a mid to top tier team. Now, Abidaje could come in and pop off. Ignar could come in and pop off like he did with Misfits, and take SKT to 5 games, busting out some really crazy stuff like Fervor, Leona, and Blitzcrank. Of course, Fervor's no longer a thing, but he's still he's known for these unorthodox picks. So, and you kind of need that. You need to stir the bucket a bit. So hopefully Ignar kind of reignites and makes people think over in Europe about the meta. So that kind of does it for the 3 major regions. I've been really keeping my eye on China. I haven't seen any movement out of China. I don't know if this is just from lack of leaks or nobody's really letting the rumor happen. Nobody's announcing anything. I've been trying. I haven't been able to find anything. But that being said, we're going to move on to my favorite region, OCE. It was announced this morning, I guess for me, last night for a lot of people, that Juves, previously of Sin, is now going to be the GM for Sports Geek Esports. That, of course, is like a working name. That's just the name they're using as basically until they figure it out what's going on. They haven't picked a name, they haven't picked colors, they haven't picked anything. But it was announced that Juves would be the GM. At 23, that's pretty impressive. Juves, of course, is known to be a absolute animal. He was a great jungler. He's very charismatic and he's very outspoken on Twitter. The guy does not mess around. I immediately put out a tweet like, get this guy good PR because he's gonna need it. But that being all jokes aside, I think he's gonna be a great manager. The guy has a really good head on his shoulders for this kind of stuff. And OCE seems to be a place where the talent develops into management pretty easily. I believe it was Carbon, who is now part of Legacy's management. They groom these guys to know that basically to have a good business sense and stuff like that. So it'll be really interested to see what kind of happens with Juves and Sports Geek and what they actually become. I'm assuming they're not going to stick with that name as many of the teams in the other regions don't. They don't have to do that because they can come up with whatever the hell they want. A little background on how Sports Geek became the spot, because of course everybody's thinking, well, what spot did they take? They took Chiefs Academy's spot, because of course, if anybody remembers back from relegation, and a new thing that that Riot knew at the time that Riot implemented was that you can't have two organizations from the same or two teams from the same organization competing in the same league. This was basically just a crackdown on teams that had way more money than other ones, not giving them a chance to break in and stuff like that. So by default, they have to sell the spot. So that's how Sportskeet got in there. That's how Brandon moved into a spot. And yeah, it'll be really, really interesting to see. Now to kind of into the rumor mill a little bit, Counterlogic Gaming, we of course know that we don't really know what's going on with their jungler, really anybody besides PoE. We don't really know what's going on with the rest of the lanes, so we're kind of waiting to see what's going on with there. That being said though, Fiona on Fire, of course a very, very renowned esports journalist, tweeted out that the faith will be rewarded. Counterlogic, of course, being like the Faith Age, the Golden Age, all that stuff. That's their thing. That's their shtick. Apparently, this might be, and then there was a tweet prior to that said "Flame on, Flame off." So everybody's jumping the gun, being like, "Oh my God, CLG Flame! Like that'd be insane. That'd be ridiculous." Do I think that we're gonna get, or were, because I'm a huge CLG fan, I'm gonna get Flame? Maybe, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what kind of happens with him. He seems pretty, he seemed pretty happy where he was. He seemed much more carefree. Similar to what happened to Crown, he came over here and just had a blast. He had fun. Because, that's the region we are. We're not meant to be taken too seriously, because, screw that. But, yeah, no, so this is the kind of rumor mill that's being stirred up. I'm going to be keeping my eyes very closely on that to see what kind of progresses from that. And finally, a bit of a correction from yesterday. I had gone on this giant tangent about Edward and Rogue and what would happen there. It turns out Edward's going over as a coach, which to me suits him a lot more, especially because, as I said previously, he's kind of past his prime. He's outgrown the pro scene. I don't really know what to call it, but yeah, he'll be going as Rogue is basically an assistant coach. Not too sure who the head coach is. Or even who the rest of the roster is, but yeah, that's what Edward's going to be doing. We can stop freaking out that Rogue is going to be a meme team. But yeah, that kind of does it for Sunday. I worked all night last night, so as I was keeping my eye on Twitter, keeping my eye on Reddit, it was just one thing after another. I was like, oh my God, this is not a slow day by any means. So I don't know. Maybe tomorrow is going to be just as crazy. This video is going to be going up maybe a little earlier, depending on when editing happens and all that good stuff. If it does, I apologize that I missed some stuff during the day. It'll be all covered tomorrow. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching, guys. And obligatory kind of tangent about self-promotion. If you guys want to subscribe, if you like what I'm talking about, if you agree with, if you disagree with me, feel free to let me know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Twitter. At James ARE Graham. I love talking about this shit. So either way, let me know. Have a good one, guys.